Yesterday, I scolded a stranger in a subway. Have you ever had to publicly scold someone you didn't know? So, I went to Subway yesterday to get one of those delicious $5 footlongs. Upon arrival, I see 3 girls probably about 17-18ish. The first to order, and the server asks the last girl what toppings she wants. She's on her phone so she doesn't answer. The server asks her again, not being impatient or rude, just asks. The girl snapped, "Can't you see I'm on the phone here? God, you are so rude. Just wait until I'm done." I was so offended and embarrassed for the server, so I couldn't help but say something to her. That was extremely rude. You came here to get a sub, so don't yell at her for providing the service you asked for. Just get off your phone, order your toppings and stop acting like a child. She looked at me with contempt and anger, but I think I intimidated her, so she didn't say anything back to me. The server looked at me, smiled, and mouthed the words "thank you." Any Redditors have to publicly scold a stranger? How'd that go? I used to fly a lot for work, and often had to deal with the typical flying annoyances: crying babies, people who were too wide for their seat, obnoxious drunks hitting on the flight attendants. But the one that sent me over the edge was when a 9 to 10-year-old girl in the seat behind me began to kick the back of my chair repeatedly, yelling at the top of her lungs for no reason. I turned around, glared at the girl and at her mother sitting next to her, and simply asked her to stop. The girl almost instantly resumed the kicking and yelling, prompting the flight attendant to come over and speak to the mother and her child. Less than a minute after the flight attendant had returned to the front of the plane, the kid started at it again. I undid my seatbelt, turned around, and completely ignoring the kid, I ripped into the mother. "Is this your kid?" "Yes." "Then act like a parent and control your daughter. She's acting like a spoiled little brat. I've already spoken to you about this, and so did the flight attendant. Now I don't care how you deal with your kids when you're at home, but I'm sure as hell not going to put up with your daughter kicking my seat and yelling in my ear for the next 3 hours. If you can't keep her quiet and behaved for a 3-hour flight, you shouldn't be on a plane." Then to the daughter, who was smirking while her mom was being reamed out, "You think this is funny?" Death glare until the smirk disappeared. "Answer me. Do you think this is funny?" The girl finally answers very quietly, "No. No. I don't think it's funny either. You're going to sit in your chair quietly, and you're going to watch TV or read a book or something, and above all you are not going to kick my chair or yell for the rest of this flight. Agreed?" She just nodded back at me. As I turned back around in my seat and put my seat belt back on, the whole plane gave me a round of applause and the flight attendant gave me free drinks for the rest of the flight. The girl never made a sound louder than a whisper for the rest of the flight. I'm ashamed to admit it, but this is a habit of mine. Whenever I see anyone drop litter, or who is acting in an incredibly rude manner, they get told. Too many entitled people out there who think they can just do whatever they want. Just last week I was at the supermarket, and there was a woman who had about 3 items on the belt speaking away on her phone. When a little old lady went over to put her stuff on the belt, the woman on the phone said, "What are you doing? This is my space. I'm just waiting for my husband to come with the rest of our stuff." This got me cross enough as it was, but then up strolls this asshole with a cart that was almost overflowing with stuff. I just couldn't hold my tongue. Turns out this bitch had been hogging a space on the belt and telling her husband what to get over the phone. I mean, what the duck. So I told her that she and her husband could go to the back of the long line they were causing. I was in the next line over. They both got all upset and I demanded to see the manager. They called the manager, and I explained how vile and selfish they had been, and to his credit the manager told me I was right, sent the people to the back and camped the old lady's groceries to apologize for her inconvenience. She only had about 4 items anyway. Some kid was in a restaurant where my mom and I were trying to have a quiet lunch. This kid starts to throw crayons at my mom, literally from the next table. The mom was too busy talking on her phone to care. I tried glaring, but she couldn't care less. In the end I walked up to her to confront her, and she actually gave me the 1-minute finger. That was it. I picked up all the crayons on the floor, on the table and from in front of the kid, dumped them on her lap and sat back down. I think she was so shocked she just left. The manager of the restaurant gave us a free meal. Apparently that particular woman was known for just letting her kid run riot. That manager needs to learn about the concept of firing your customers. At my job, we have fired a small handful of customers. They are not welcome in our store anymore, as they have been nothing but a pain in the ass, costing us money, insulting employees, wasting our time, disrespecting other customers, etc. Those people have all been informed that they are not welcome to shop with us. Rather simple. If you can't abide by our rules and are dragging our bottom line down, I don't see why we should continue to provide them our products/services. In college, for a Spanish class I was taking, I had the opportunity to go see a foreign film for extra credit. I had to take notes during the film, so I could write a brief summary of the movie to turn into my Spanish professor. The movie is playing in one of our big lecture halls by the foreign film club at my school, so there was a lot of students there watching. I get to my seat, settle in and start watching the movie. About 10 minutes in, two girls enter the hall and proceed to make a lot of noise, like nothing is going on at all. They take their seats in my same row, but on the other side of an aisle. They continue to talk for the next 10 to 15 minutes, loudly, while the movie is playing. Not giving any ducks. I can tell the people around me are annoyed with subtle ahms and groans, and multiple head turns to look at the girls. But no one really does anything, and the girls keep talking. Finally, I've had it. I get up, walk over to the girls and ask them, in the most polite voice I could muster, as I was very annoyed. Please excuse me ladies for interrupting your conversation. Would you mind shutting the duck up, so the rest of us can watch the film? I just stood there and they got very angry and left. The entire lecture hall applauded, and the movie went on. There were no more interruptions. I left that place feeling 10 feet tall. Well worth the 25 extra credit points. I had to yell at a lady in a theater. She had 2 young children with her. After the lights went down and the movie was starting, the kids were still running around like little maniacs. All I said was, "Shh." She screams at me, "They're children." I yelled back something along the lines of, "We all paid to see this movie." "Yes, they're children. You are the parent. Shut them up or get out." I once tried telling a lady to please stop talking. Well, I got a little nervous and said, "Please, talking." I once caught 2 kids, around 12 years old, about to throw a Coke can at an old woman from across the street. I got in the way and yelled at them to ducking, try it and see what happens. They stopped in their tracks and tried to deny what they were about to do. Afterwards I felt bad and thought, maybe I'd overreacted and could have used less threatening language towards 2 kids, but duck it. It's probably the only way I was gonna get through to them. The old lady was completely oblivious to the whole thing. My buddy and I were at a movie, and these dudes who were talking about they had just got out of basic training were bashing the movie and laughing, making rude comments, etc. Well, my buddy tells them to pipe the duck down, and they flip him off but quiet down. After the movie, we are at the front of the pack right behind the 6 or 7 guys being rude, and my buddy says, "That was really rude to everyone how you were behaving," and one of them, the loudest, whips out his military ID and says, "Yeah, well I'm a ducking marine and I fight for your freedom, bitch." My buddy, who just happens to be an officer, whips out his and says, "I'm a marine officer, and just because you have the honor of wearing a uniform, doesn't give you the right to be a shit spewing passant." Then he made them stand at attention right at the door of the movie theater, and apologized to every patron exiting. Kind of. I was at a Panera Bread around the holidays a few years ago. It was full on shopping season, and the place is close to some shopping malls, so it was extremely busy. This older couple ordered coffee, and the lady behind the counter gave them a to-go cup, saying, "I'm sorry, we ran out of clean mugs, and the dishwasher is running now, but I didn't want to make you wait," or something like that. Very polite. The lady got pissed and started screaming about bad service. She actually yelled, I need a here cup, not a to-go cup. The poor girl behind the counter kept apologizing and saying they would be done in a minute, but the lady just kept bitching. Meanwhile, another employee comes up to take my order, so I ordered my drink and said as loud as I could, and a to-go cup is fine with me. Unlike some people, I understand the drink will taste the same. The old lady freaked about how rude I was while I waited for my drink. The manager comes out and gives me a free loaf of their holiday bread, for being so patient. Old people left, still pissed. Didn't exactly scold her, but made a loud comment in defense of the employee. Old people left, still pissed. Good thing they had a to-go cup. About a year ago at my university, there was this blind man who was the nicest guy ever. Seriously, he takes a full schedule of classes, and is always somewhere on campus. He uses a white cane to help guide himself, but still, understandably, gets lost on the large campus plenty of times. He doesn't really have much of a family left, as he is much older, but he loves learning and says that's how he wants to spend the rest of his life. Anytime I see him, I always say, "What's up?" and walk with him to where he wants to go, because he tells some of the coolest stories. One day I was walking in the hall of one of the campus buildings, and I saw him accidentally brush a girl with his cane. He immediately apologized. This girl was blonde, fake tan, in Uggs and sweatpants. We have lots of girls like this on campus. They suck. Well, instead of being understandable to the fact that he is ducking blind, she starts screaming at him and telling him to not be such a pervert. He keeps apologizing and saying he didn't mean to bump her with his cane, but she isn't having it. She is making a scene. I've never moved so fast in my entire life. I sprinted across the hall and said, "Hey, what the duck is wrong with you?" She is shocked, since I guess she didn't think there was anyone else in the hall watching, and she starts saying how he hit her with his cane. And all I do, in the most, "I'm not angry at you, I'm just disappointed," tone I can utter, I tell her, "That man has more dignity and self-worth than you will ever have. Apologize to him, and leave." She got this. I just ducked up look on her face, apologized without even looking at him. Not that he would know the difference, I guess. Also this all happened in like a split instant, and walked away with her head hanging down. My blind homie graduated last semester too. Shit worked out.